Welcome to Clean Air Action's podcast, Cleaning Up Dirty. We talk politics with non-toxic people. I'm Liz Green-Schultz. I run a political nonprofit called Clean Air Action.
And I'm Sean Hoffman, Legislative Director of Clean Air Action. Clean Air Action is the proud sister organization of the Clean Air Council, the oldest environmental and public health organization in Pennsylvania.
Together, we fight for your constitutional right to breathe healthy air. Over here at Clean Air Action, we fight dirty with clean. That applies to anyone who messes with our political and civil rights, including corporations and politicians.
Today we have Reid Scott on, the dashing actor who has appeared in many of your favorite movies and TV shows like Law & Order, Veep, the Venom series, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and much more, to discuss a bit about his background and ways he tries to make a difference in our world. Reid, thanks so much for coming on our podcast today, man. We are extremely excited to sit down with you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
This is so exciting for so many reasons. We'll get into them momentarily, but since this is a political podcast, we like to talk about some spicy stuff. So in case we need to eat our feelings, we keep snacks on hand. And today we have a very special selection of snacks. I went old school, and it's not just the OG Tootsie Rolls, but we also have the lemon, the orange, and the lime.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love these as a kid, like the fruity Tootsie Rolls. I didn't know they still existed. Where'd you find these?
I'm so glad you asked.
You robbed a dish, didn't you, at some diner? That's what it was?
Did I tell you this? That's literally what happened. I didn't tell you this, right? That's very funny. Sean knows me far too well. I was in a diner in South Jersey, and I'm standing at the register, and I see them in the dish. It was shortly after Halloween. And I thought, oh, that's fun. So I grabbed a Tootsie Roll, and then I grabbed another one, and then another one. And then I thought, oh, this would be great for the podcast. Can I go to CVS and buy these? Nah, it's probably all gone. So I just continued secretly snatching them. And then the diner waitress finally said, are you sure you don't want to take another one?
She took all the flavors. All the flavors.
Funny.
Reid, what's your thoughts on Tootsie Rolls, man? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Well, God, that's a mixed bag. I mean, when I was a kid, big thumbs up. Okay. And then now I don't really have much of a sweet tooth, and I'm a dad. So by nature, I have to be suspicious of anything that's like sticky and sweet. My kids go nuts for these things. I mean, they had the craziest haul from Halloween. I think they're still snacking on this stuff. I don't know that they've ever seen the fruity ones, though.
Because you can only find them in diner dishes. You can't buy them in the stores. I don't know how they have access to them. But I feel you, man. So you look at these and you're like, this is a mess. I mean, maybe it's delicious, maybe it isn't. But this is a mess waiting at. It's going to get in my couch somehow. Yeah. It's going to be sticky.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out on the podcast today if they hold up, since I was, 7 years old. Trick-or-treating is probably the last time I saw these. So
that's probably the last time I saw. I didn't even know they still existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Alive and well, apparently.
I'm proud. I've gotten a little bit of flack for my snack selection lately. Sean has commented that it was like I was in the bottom of grandma's purse.
Yeah.
So I had to
just sort of like leftover. I mean, we haven't completely departed from that. Like the Tootsie Roll is absolutely a bottom of grandma's purse kind of a snack, right? I mean,
like emotionally, we're all at the bottom of grandma's purse.
It's like a little dusty. You gotta like brush some fuzzes off. But there's like love in this Tootsie Roll, you know?
In addition to stepping up our snack game, I realized we should change our intro. Welcome to Clean Air Action's award-winning podcast.
Congratulations.
Because thank you. Drum roll. We haven't told the listeners yet. We just won gold. Signal Awards 2024 Gold winner, Cleaning Up Dirty Most Inspirational Podcast. We have our little award behind us.
Thank you. Thank you. Really.
I assume all of your listeners will be clapping in unison as well.
Yeah, obviously.
I can hear them in the distance.
Yes.
How many political podcasts get to say a famous actor, Reid Scott, is applauding them for their award?
Not many.
One,
this one right here.
We're so thrilled to have you on because in addition to being a world famous actor and wonderful human, I have known you for over 30 years.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, really wild. Just so happens that Reid went to high school with my brother.
That's
so
right.
Reid kind of babysat me. Babysat is a generous term, but
you didn't seem to need much babysitting though when we were kids. You were pretty self-sufficient. And honestly, we were terrible babysitters.
That tracks with story. Both ends of that tracks with stories I've heard.
That's how I remember it.
That's really funny and pretty spot on, actually. So I wouldn't expect you to remember playing Pogs with me, but I brought a Pog Slammer, round out the retro vibes with the Tootsie Rolls.
I mean, I don't know that every listener is going to know what a Pog even is. It was
those
a very
still
90s. There's probably like Pog leagues out there that I don't know about that like people are keeping it alive somewhere.
My youngest son, who's almost 7 now, he's super into Pokemon, which I remember from the 90s, but I thought that like fruit flavored Tootsie Rolls had just sort of evaporated into the ether, but no, it's fucking huge.
As big as ever, man.
Crazy.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it was like Pokemon Red and Blue came out on Game Boy, and now they've got like 17 different versions, like Pokemon Sapphire.
Oh my God. It's
Emerald,
insane.
and it's crazy.
Well, I don't even know how to begin to explain what Pogs are, so I guess maybe we can leave listeners to Google that. But
give it a Google. It's weird. I don't know how it came to be a thing that people enjoyed, but I remember as a kid going to the Michael's craft store, and there'd be like piles of Pogs.
Yeah.
Like bins of them. And you'd just be like, oh man, look at this one. I have it at home, but like I don't have this holographic version of it. I got to get this one.
Yeah.
Like put it in the pile.
And since Reid and I are from the same area, I believe I used to buy them at Earth Traders in Clifton Country Mall.
Yes. Oh my God. That's where I got all my hemp necklaces.
Yes.
Yep. And the first pair of devil sticks that was in my household was from Earth Traders.
This is such a 90s throwback. The devil sticks, like
90s upstate New York.
Yes. Pogs and devil sticks as far as the eye could see.
Well, depending on how this episode rolls, maybe we can hear some fun stories from 90s upstate New York. Sean was hoping you might regale us with some throwback stories there, but
I could probably got one or two. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, sounds good. Well, did we wait long enough to ask about Julia? Have we done the appropriate banter? Because Sean and I are pretty obsessed with Seinfeld and Veep, and so I don't know if it's obnoxious, but we have to ask.
Oh, not at all.
What's she like?
Well, she's amazing.
Do you guys talk on the phone? Right? That's what
She seems very cool.
Yeah, she's
Is she
very
fun at
cool.
parties?
She's a hoot. She's a blast. She's like, well, I'll tell you sort of like what my first impression was when we first started working together on Veep. I think I speak for most of the cast that, we were all a little intimidated by her, just by her talent, because she'd already become iconic through Seinfeld and, New Adventures of Old Christine and everything. I mean, she was sort of synonymous with huge television comedy. And that all kind of just faded away within the first couple of days because we realized she's just such a down-to-earth, like jeans and t-shirt kind of gal. It was immediately apparent that she wasn't there to like be a star. She is a star, and she was there to, have fun and do something creative, and she was just fantastic. And right away, she was just, down in the dirt with us, playing around. There was no weird hierarchy or anything like that. And honestly, that's what the show required. It was very much an all hands on deck sort of experience. We did tons of research, tons of rehearsal, long hours together. We shot the first 4 seasons in Baltimore, Maryland. Other people out there probably have heard me talk about this a lot, but I don't know that the show would have worked otherwise, because us being, essentially sequestered together away from home in Baltimore, there was nothing else to do but get into this world together. And
I don't know, man. Inner Harbor is a hoot too.
yeah, I mean, there was some.
I'm sure you guys tore it up there.
We had our fun. We had our
Cameron Yards.
fun. But she, like, the best way to describe her was, she was the quarterback for our team. But we were all on the same team, and we all needed each other, and we all relied on each other. And there was, plenty of times where she and I would happen to be on the same flight going home or whatever, and we'd sit together, and just chat and talk about the show or talk about life. And we're still all really tight. It's really cool. Like, we still do a lot of political stuff. We raised over $1 million for WisDems, the political movement in Wisconsin.
Yeah. I saw that.
For like the 4th time. We've done this thing like 3 or 4 times now, and everyone checks in with everybody on their birthdays and holidays. And,
That's awesome.
Both of my kids were born during the Veep era, so they were crawling on the presidential desk, on the Great Seal in our Oval Office, and they were in the hair and makeup trailer, and all this kind of stuff. So we really we bonded as a little family that still kind of exists today. We're all scattered to the wind, like everyone's somewhere else now, but we're all burned into each other's DNA at this point. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Unbelievable for so many reasons. That must have been so trippy being from the Saratoga area of upstate New York. Not too many famous actors or civil rights lawyers from that area. So
yeah, I know.
I'd love to hear how where we're from has shaped your work.
Man, I think about that a lot. There's definitely a part of me coming from where we come from, which is a beautiful part of the world, by the way.
Yeah.
But because there's nothing about it inherently that lends itself to what I do for a living, I mean, there's certainly, a warm embrace of culture and the arts. And there are, a handful of people. I've actually met over the years now more and more people coming out of Capital District, Saratoga area that happen to be in this business in one facet or another.
Really?
Yeah, on all sides. Huh. I've met a couple of wonderful writers. There's a couple of directors that I've worked with. There's a few other actors. There's another actor who's from Glens Falls and Lake George area. And I went to school in Syracuse, which sort of draws from central New York. And I've met some more people from there or, general area. But because, it's not New York City and because it's not LA and things like that, there was definitely a good amount of my early career where I felt like kind of an interloper, that sort of imposter syndrome.
Sure.
Where it's like,
I still feel that.
Tell me about it.
So do I. And honestly, what I've learned that really kind of helps is that everybody does. I grew up with some sort of preconceived notion that if you were going to be a successful actor, you came from like an acting family, or you had some contact to the business, or you were from New York City or Los Angeles where you just sort of absorbed it by osmosis and then just kind of caught the wave and got in. And what I've realized is 90% of this industry is populated with people who are from anywhere except Los Angeles and New York.
Okay.
B, the remaining percentage of people that might have come from those areas, they feel like imposters too. You know what I mean? Because that's what the business is. You're playing pretend. Once you sort of get over that, there's no such thing as an imposter artist. If you are an artist and that's what you dedicate yourself to, then you are that thing. That's the trick. That's the magic right there. It's like, if you believe that you are that thing, then you are that thing.
I love that. This is a Tootsie Roll moment.
Go for it.
If you believe that you are that thing, then you are that
Treat
thing.
yourself.
Yeah.
What flavor is
I'm
this?
going for lime, the green, because I'm feeling the hopefulness of this, which green is a color associated with hope, including from Pablo Neruda, incidentally, not just because we're environmentalists, but we talk a lot about optimism, reckless optimism on this podcast. And that's so optimistic to me, the idea that how many people would grow up thinking, I could never be an actor because I'm not from LA. So I love that.
Yeah. It's something I've been sort of exploring even more of. I don't know if being a parent has kicked it in or it's just this time in my life, whatever, but realizing that, I'll speak for myself, but I think it's probably true for a lot of people out there. I'm sure a lot of your listeners would agree to this, is that if you stop and really become aware, realize that we've spent way too much of our time as human beings judging ourselves externally through the eyes of other people, worrying about what they think, how you're fitting into something, are you doing it quote unquote right, and all that kind of stuff. You get to a certain age and realize that shit doesn't matter. Not that other people don't matter, but their opinion of you doesn't matter. If it's in contrast to what your opinion of you is, then it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, sometimes we're our own worst enemies.
Absolutely.
As far as the judgment goes. But it's interesting, too, to think about that in a political context. Another thing we talk a lot about is this era, there's a hunger for authenticity, real or perceived authenticity. And we saw it in this last election where there was sort of a rejection of folks who were perceived as not real or as standard politicians. And I think those who can be most successful maybe are, to your point, Reid, those who can more lean into, this is who I am, this is my style, and it works for me. And if you don't like it, you don't have to vote for me. But that I think has great currency right now in our political era.
It does.
That is something we're so excited to discuss with you, but I just have to name that I started to take a bite of the lime Tootsie Roll.
Is it inedible? Is it?
Well,
Is it as sophisticated and delicious as you remember?
I don't know if you noticed the moment that Sean was saying something deep and important and meaningful, and so that I took it out of my mouth because I didn't want to.
Let me see what's happening.
Start exclaiming. It's unexpected, I'll tell you that. I mean, it's good.
It's a lime candy. It was clearly in that bowl for some time. This is not a fresh Tootsie Roll, folks. This is a preserved Tootsie Roll.
It's also quite a bit after Halloween at this point, but it's good. I would eat more of these, but boy, did I not expect that.
It's limey. It's chewy. I would do it again. I would.
It's good. 5 stars. So back to deep, meaningful, important social themes. Yeah, we've been talking, especially in the wake of this election, which I'll say was surprising to me, the outcome. We've talked so much about the importance of authenticity in politicians, and we talked about that even before the election. But I still have Tootsie Roll in my mouth.
We'll edit that part out.
But
no, we won't.
The voice of God there is Bobby,
yes.
Our amazing award-winning podcast producer. Usually we leave in my embarrassing moments to entertain the listeners.
It's what the audience wants.
That's right. Give them what they want.
Anyway, okay, I'm going to compose myself. Authenticity. And as that relates to some of the roles that you have been in, the reason I asked you on the podcast is mostly because you're famous, honestly. We'll just put that out there. That's not what I put in my message to you, right? The hook here being your roles have overlapped with my career in strange and unexpected ways, from courtroom dramas to political theater. Interestingly, I did not know that Veep was filmed in Baltimore, and the beginnings of my career overlapped substantially with The Wire.
Is that right?
Yeah. I was a public defender for 4 years, and I watched The Wire in law school because one of my Temple law professors, who was a public defender, said, it's 100% accurate. Watch it.
One of the best shows of all time. I loved it. Loved it.
So good.
When we first got to Baltimore for Veep, I think it was literally like within the first 2 or 3 days, myself and Tim Simons and Matt Walsh discovered that our location scout had been one of the location managers on The Wire. And we stuffed him into a car and was like, show us everything.
Yes.
And he gave us a tour of Baltimore through the lens of The Wire.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, we were coming to the neighborhoods.
Did you go to Amsterdam?
We went, I'm telling you, it was like, this is where this guy got shot. This is where this guy got shot. And
Wow.
we were going to some neighborhoods, and we would like get out of the car with our, we're nerds with our iPhones taking pictures. And he's like, are you trying to get us all killed? Get back in the car. It was like,
this is Baltimore, man.
it's real, man. It's a beautiful city, but it's got a lot of problems. It's sad. There's
Not unlike Philly.
I was just gonna say, being from Philly, like there's rough parts of town. Baltimore, in a lot of ways, is like a smaller Philly. There's beautiful parts of town, lots of history, and a lot of parts that a
lot of corruption.
Maybe
that's the biggest problem.
Well,
a lot of corruption.
Incidentally, our podcast, Cleaning Up Dirty, about political corruption is, it's not irrelevant to Philadelphia. And I worked in government locally. So maybe stories for another day.
But, that's cool.
But we, again, this is another thing that we're seeing play out in this election. And I think, again, circle back to the thirst for authenticity. Most cities in this country are run by Democrats. That's just a plain fact. It's the nature of the demographics. City folk tend to be a little more progressive. The Democratic Party is the more progressive party now. But unfortunately, we also see, again, Philadelphia, Baltimore have had problems with corruption. However it is you want to define it, and I think it's a term in politics that gets bandied about a lot. What's corrupt to one person and what's corrupt to another. But this is like traditional, like, you scratch my back, I'll give you a bag of money kind of corruption, like, gold bars in the safe kind of corruption that has just gone on for so long that to be successful in those particular political arenas, you kind of have to learn how to roll with it. And voters are kind of sick and tired of it. And that's why you saw Philadelphia, deep blue Philly, had a greater share of Republican votes than it's had in a really long time. I don't personally believe that's because there were so many Philly people who were like, oh yeah, love me some Republicans in that platform. I think it was out of frustration with perhaps a lack of authenticity. We see all these politicians saying all this stuff about, oh, I'm new and this is going to be great. And then the same old thing starts happening. The problems in Philly don't ever seem to change or get fixed. The bad parts of town are always the bad parts of town. And for those of us who have lived here for a long time, and people are sick and tired of it. Has that resulted in good productive choices at the ballot box? That remains to be seen. But the frustration is absolutely real. And it is manifesting, I think, in blue cities.
Yeah.
And Sean said you have to acclimate to that. And I thought, or you leave like I did, because I did not last very long in that role because I saw some of what Sean was describing and was like, nope, not for me. I'm a member of the bar. This is not what my plan was in this role. So Sean and I were talking about on the way here how that's overlapped with your career and the roles that you've had, because you give voice to some of these issues on the big screen. And we were debating, does this actually influence voters, or is it just narrating issues that voters already know about? Do you have a sense of that or an opinion about that?
In terms of Veep, which, and I understand where it comes from, gets described as a political show, I would say it's not a political show. It was a show about the political world, which is, I know it sounds like splitting hairs, but it's sort of like saying, like, if The Office was a show about paper. That's not what the show is about. That's what they did. The show was about the inner workings of that office and then all the idiosyncrasies that go on therein. So Veep just took politics, Washington, D.C. et al. As an industry and made that the backdrop for this office comedy. Now, were we politically savvy people making the show? Yeah. And we realized that sort of like, look, this particular industry has to be represented the right way, or else, talk about authenticity, the floor just falls out. So we did our best to really try to emulate that and try to, obviously it's a satire. So what we're looking for is sort of like, the most ridiculous ends of the spectrum to highlight. Is there a commentary? Yeah, there's a commentary, but we weren't really, in my mind, actively political. And that was one of the brilliant things about the show. In fact, we would go to Capitol Hill all the time. We got invited to incredible events. We met everybody. It was insane. Over the course of certainly the first 4 years when the show gained popularity, we had incredible access. I mean, senators, congressmen and women were inviting us to their office and we were interviewing them, and they were just divulging and divulging and divulging.
We get that in this job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing how you can see the people who are, I'll just say it, sort of trapped in that business are just so hungry to be heard because they spend so much of their waking life in the job not actually being heard because that's not the job.
Yep. And the barriers to it are crazy making. So they just want to tell everyone. There
was, two stories. So I'll finish the first thought is we got invited to the press correspondence dinner. They split us all up because they want to, they want people to sort of pass us around. Like, like we're toys. Or like everyone wants one little piece of Veep at their table.
Right. We'll put a VPS member at each table. And it's your party favorite.
Did you have to sit in the center of the table, like the center?
And just get spun around on a lazy Susan? No, I found myself, I had a very nice table. It was great. Obama was in office, so there was this electric energy. It feels like the Democrats can laugh at themselves a little bit more than the Republicans can. My buddy Joel McHale was emceeing, and he was fucking hilarious. And I'm sat at a table between the supermodel Linda Evangelista, who, 90s, I was like, oh my God, she's the most beautiful woman in the world. She's on my left, and on my right is Nancy Pelosi.
Wow.
And I was so torn. I'm like, who do I pay attention to? like one of the most beautiful women in the world that, when I was a teenager, I was like, oh my God, she's so gorgeous. Or one of the most incredible political minds of our time.
She's like, my teenage self will never forgive me if I don't pay attention to this. But at the same time, it's Nancy Pelosi.
And I found myself drooling over Nancy Pelosi. I was just like, and she and her husband couldn't have been sweeter. We talked all night and it was really great.
Wow.
But what I learned at the correspondence dinner, because we would talk to everybody there, a really nice mix of Republican and Democrats in a fairly bipartisan event, was that you would talk to someone from the left side of the aisle and they'd say, man, you guys give it to the Republicans so good. And then we talked to someone from the right side of the aisle, and they're like, what you do to send up the Democrats is genius. And we realized, we're doing it right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would have said that, like, clearly we're hitting the perfect note because everybody thinks they're making fun of everybody else.
Yeah.
That's so
amazing.
Cool.
So we tried to be fairly apolitical. If you look at some of the later seasons, you could piece it together which side of the aisle, I won't say, but you can figure out which side of the aisle she's on just based on some of the, agenda action items that she picks up and pushes forth. But they did it in a way that I thought was, again, very authentic to how politics works. It's sort of like, are you picking up this piece of your agenda because you actually believe in it? Or are you picking up this piece of agenda because it's gaining you traction?
Right.
But as you see, and I think this was the big reason why the Democrats lost this election, is sometimes they just become so transparent that you're picking it up for votes, for traction, for support. And it's like, do you authentically support that thing, whatever it is? And, I could go on and on about it because my business and politics, they've always called DC Hollywood for ugly people, which is terrible. But it's run very similarly. It's all positioning and posturing and saying the right thing. And both of our industries are, hungry for clicks. Like that's what we do, right? We chase
showmanship.
Yeah.
Theater.
We chase support, right? If we can make a product so good that you'll buy a ticket, it doesn't matter if you like it at the end, we got your money. Right?
True story.
And there's no refunds. You don't walk out of the movie saying I didn't like it. And it's like, oh, here's your $20 back.
Nope. You got the ticket. That's it.
You don't watch the show and sort of say, oh, I'll never get that hour of my life back. It's sort of like, too late. And politics, unfortunately, I think is starting to veer into that realm as well. Was sort of like, once we have your support, people stop caring about you. It's sort of like, oh, you're signed up on our team. Now you have to vote our team. And then when they stop paying attention.
Yeah.
And boy, did that not play out well for the Democrats recently, which is something we've had a lot of conversations about with each other and other people over the holidays. I was in about, I think, 6 households, and I think 4 of them were Trump households. And I'm sure it's no surprise to the listeners that I did not vote for Trump. We endorsed Kamala Harris. And I had such valuable conversations with people about these things and about the missteps of the Democratic Party.
Good.
And, that makes me think about where we're from, that even though we're from New York, which is a blue state, the specific area where we're from is about 51% Dem. It's not very liberal, right? It's certainly not LA. So I've been intentionally having these conversations with people in hopes of bridging these stressful and unproductive divides so that we can come back to sanity.
I think that's so smart. That's exactly what needs to be happening.
Are you doing that as well?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I'm not in the same position you are. Like, I'm not, out there trying to get inside the minds of the voters. But what I've done, well, first of all, I was not surprised by the outcome of the election.
Really?
I was not really. I didn't.
You kind of felt it coming?
Yeah.
Or you were like, this has happened. I'm not shocked.
I wasn't shocked. Disappointed, but not shocked. I sort of felt it coming. I saw, in retrospect, I'm like, oh my God, these were giant red flags.
Totally.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah, we're like, well.
Massive monster truck size waving red flags on fire that somehow we ignored. But, at the time, it just sort of was like, that's maybe a speed bump, but we'll be okay. Here's another issue, but we can get over that. So what I've done in the aftermath is I just want to understand why. And I'm trying to be very dispassionate about the why. So I started doing something that maybe I and maybe a lot of other people should have done before, is I started, doing things like watching Newsmax and watching Fox News and listening to conservative podcasts. At least initially, with no intention to sit down looking for fault or looking for oh, wow, this is terrible. Boy, do I disagree. But just trying to find what that brand of logic is and try to see. And I got to say, a lot of it has been hard to swallow for me because it's just at times, diametric opposition to how I think and feel about things. But I have been very surprised at some things. I'm like, oh, I get it. I get that point. I missed that point. We missed that point. Or we thought we understood it and we didn't go far enough. there was a bit of hubris that sort of like, yep, we'll get to it. And sort of, no, we need to get to it now. Like this is not top 10 priority. This is top 5 priority. You know, we just sort of misjudged some things. And I think what you're saying, you know, the people who maybe switched their vote this time around were not necessarily pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, but they were just sort of like, hey, at least this is transparent in a way. And I'm not saying it's not corrupt, but at least their corruption is transparent corruption.
At least they're open about it. That's the thing.
Look, I'm of the mind that I'm not scared of the next 4 years. I'm really not. Is some damage going to be done? Sure. But both sides do damage in their own ways during their 4 years.
And this is what we're built for. This is America is built to withstand moments like this. So we certainly will see tests to that. But I say this to people who are freaking out that this is tyranny. This is the end of democracy.
No.
It's
not.
They get 4 years and then there's another election. That's how this works.
Exactly right. And I think the best we can do in the next 4 years is really like listen, you know, really listen, really pay attention. Nothing changes until it has to, is the lesson of humanity. You know, it's never worked any other way. Because why would it? If you don't have to change something, why would you?
I say that all the time. We're an inherently reactionary species. It's not until like the house is burned down and you're like, oh man, maybe we should have installed those sprinklers. You know, that the sprinkler experts have been telling us we should have installed for 20 years. We're like, nah, it's too expensive. Like, the house is probably not going to burn down. And it burns down and you're like, we got to put together a sprinkler commission. You know, to figure out sprinklers. But before that, you know, like nobody wants to talk sprinklers.
That's the beautiful thing about us. We are adaptable. And I think it's almost in our nature. Like if we don't have something to adapt to, we get bored and then we create problems that we then have to adapt to. So here we are. So this is a great moment for us as human beings and sort of like we're going to have to adapt.
I got chills when you said the best thing we can do over the next 4 years is listen.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, is he reading my mind? I've been saying this to people. I posted something on social media right after the election to that effect because, well, I missed something. So let me draw back and find out what that is and listen and have a meeting of the minds with people. And I actually had the most beautiful conversations about politics with conservatives over the holidays, which is obviously a risky endeavor and not everybody's cup of tea. But it is how I spent the holiday because I really wanted to listen and hear from them and exchange this positive, constructive dialogue, even where we disagree.
Mm-hmm. Got to get outside the echo chamber. Exactly what you were talking about, Reid. You know, we all of us, whether you're on the left or the right in this era, can spend a lot of time talking to each other about the same stuff we believe and have heard all the time. And sometimes you go and you watch the Newsmaxes of the world and you're going to see someone's stuff there and you're like, that's totally garbage or that's crazy. But to your point, sometimes you're like, aha, that's a thing that kind of maybe makes some sense that you never hear on MSNBC or maybe you never hear on other left-leaning spaces.
Even if you disagree with it.
You can
disagree with something and it still makes sense.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think we can get very myopic and say, you know, if I disagree, that's ludicrous because I disagree. It's like, well, I don't think that's very constructive.
Yeah. And It's like, have those people been married? Because
right.
like people can't even listen to a point they disagree with without interrupting and yelling. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the cool conversations I had with conservatives over the holidays is one of my very closest friends who has voted for Trump each time said, can we maybe go back to the time where you don't know what every business stance is on politics? Like, do I need to know my neighborhood pizza places?
Exactly.
If they're pro Kamala or Trump?
Yeah.
Like, has politics invaded too much in our culture? It's kind of driving us all nuts. I
think it has. And I mean, at the risk of really branding myself, you know, super radical.
Yeah, I don't want to get you canceled.
No, I'm fairly open about this. And I'm not like a burn the house down kind of guy.
Yeah.
At all. And what I'm about to say will probably ring true in a more conservative sphere, but I come at it from I'm incredibly socially liberal. I don't think I'm you know, that social liberal fiscal conservative. I don't really slot into there. I'm much more interested in local politics than national politics, to be honest, because those are the politics that you feel.
Absolutely,
right?
Yep.
On a day-to-day basis. And I think a lot of our conservative brothers and sisters in America, they live very locally, you know, and so that's what they care about, these issues that affect them. And they see the federal government trying to do these sweeping blanket policies that in the end seem like a lot of wasted time to them because they don't end up feeling that locally, or somehow maybe they feel the impact of that locally in a negative way. So I'm really of the mind that, like, I think what you just said, has politics invaded our lives too much? Yes. And I don't think this was the intention when this country was built. I'm a guy who believes giving power back to the states. Is that going to get messy? And are some states going to take it in a direction that I completely disagree with? Yes. And I'm willing to be there with open arms to try to welcome the people who want to get away from whatever that local politic might be.
Right.
But I feel basically the federal government has gotten to a point now where they're just tamping everything down and taking away choice, whatever that is. And I think you've got to let people make, I'll just use the word bad or wrong choices. I know it's pejorative, but just to sort of make it as simplistic as possible.
Make their own choices.
Yeah, make their own choices, even if you disagree with them. And again, I think my eyes are open to that being a dad, and that I realize, I can bang my head against the wall all day long trying to get my kids to do the right thing. And I realize they're not going to learn this lesson until they do the wrong thing and see what they don't want to do.
So you're not a helicopter parent, it sounds.
Not anymore. I think I was. Yeah.
Yeah?
It became futile. It's like you realize it's sort of like that's not going to do it. Or what it does is it just perpetuates itself and you realize this is what you have to do now all the time. And it's exhausting.
That's such an interesting parallel to our government, because the way you were describing giving power to the states, I'm thinking, well, that again is how America is designed. And I think few people relative to how many people vote really understand that everything is supposed to be reserved to the states that isn't to the feds. And we see these pendulum swings over time of more federal power, less federal power. Sean and I studied these things in law school. We talk about them all the time, but your average voter doesn't necessarily understand that is how our country was designed. And as you said, we're supposed to have freedom of belief. So we're supposed to have the freedom to believe whatever dumb thing we want as Americans.
That's the beauty of it. We can be as stupid as we want.
That's right. And that is indeed the nature of the system. And there is always the push and pull between the federal and the state. And I think, though, that some of us, in the wake of a good decision or perhaps a bad decision on the part of the broader electorate, where we get to the point where, are we going to live through the next 4 years? We totally are. As a country, we're going to be fine. We're going to get to the other side. Are there some bad things that might happen that some of us are like, well, I hope it turns out great. I'm not so sure that it's gonna, but that's the will of the people. That's how democracy works. And I think, to your point, Reid, maybe we have to go through those things to learn that this is what we like or what we don't like. And to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, sort of this frustration across the entire nation with the status quo and the system as it has been, in large part, this feeling that the federal government isn't working however it is you feel it should work. And so a majority of the American people voted to try and blow it up, pretty much. I mean, I'm fascinated with the Trump AOC voter, the Trump Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez voter, of which there were quite a few, and that they've been interviewing them and kind of like, why would you vote for Trump and AOC? Because they're real, because they're authentic, because they tell it like it is, because they're trying to blow the existing system up and make it work.
I think it also speaks to the macro and the micro. If you're an AOC voter, I voted for AOC because I feel her locally, right?
Yeah. She's very connected to her district.
And on a national level, they wanted someone authentic, if that's how they viewed it, on the national stage.
Right. That's why I said earlier, like, real or perceived authenticity. Right. Because, I mean, but that's it, though. That's the currency of the age, and
well, authenticity doesn't always mean benevolence,
Oh, yeah. Right. That's true. That's a good
fair point.
We use it in a positive sense.
Right.
But sometimes it's just, blatant honesty, blunt truth.
And interestingly, one of my favorite points that one of my conservative loved ones made when I was having these conversations over the holidays is we're seeing the reaction to the Democratic parties and Democrats generally accusing everybody of everything all the time. Her exact words were, nobody wants to be an ist, and everybody's being accused of being an ist all the time. You can't say anything right because we're learning so quickly these shifts in our language that people can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
So then you say one wrong thing and you're accused of being an ist. And it was her theory that that's part of why Dems lost ground in this most recent election.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw Republican gains in every demographic, right? So that tracks a little bit. Now, for those who need to engage in escapism for the next 4 years, it seems to me that TV and movies play an important escapism role.
Yeah.
So do you think that TV and movies are striving to be apolitical or political? Are you seeing trends in this respect?
Oh, man, that's a really good question. Well, from my own experience, and this actually happened, when Trump won his first term, we had a meeting at Veep. We were still shooting Veep at the time. I mean, the higher-ups had their meeting, and then because it was a very inclusive sort of environment, then they very quickly called all the actors and everybody else in, and we all talked about it, and everyone was very open about it. We're like, we think the show's done. And we're like, oh, why? And it's like, well, we're through the looking glass now.
Huh.
You know, it's sort of like we were satirizing something that hadn't been satirized, and now it's just a satire on its own.
Right, the satire is real. That's
So
do you think you guys caused the election outcome?
No, but I think they were right in saying, because we were talking about the integrity of the show, which is, not like the most important thing in the world, but it definitely became apparent to us that anything we did at that point would seem like we were just aping what was going on. And in fact, up until then, we had a weirdly strong track record of coming up with what we thought was just bananas, weirdo political bullshit. And then it would actually happen. And we were like, oh my God, that was supposed to be a joke. And then it would actually happen.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, there's one that it gets brought up all the time is we had an episode where like the flower arrangements that Selena has cause a bit of a kerfuffle because it's like she's like overspending or something like that. The silliness was that anyone would make such a big deal over flowers. But if you look at it, yeah, you shouldn't be spending that much money on flowers when this, that, and the other thing. And then I think maybe like a week or so before the episode was set to air, that exact thing happened. Michelle Obama had some like massive Easter spread of flowers or something like that and caught all this flack for going so big when this, that, and the other thing were going on. And we were like, Jesus Christ, like that is so weirdly specific that we got that. And shit like that would happen all the time, like all the time. Again, our show was never trying to be political. It was trying to be a satire. And this is what I love about television and film is like, it can really be a social custodian, pushing back against politics and the machinery of this stuff at the right time. I think there was a moment, and by moment, I mean several years, where it went way political and it was just sort of shoving politics into places, like all aspects of politics, equity and all this sort of stuff. And, just trying to put as many issues into a show or a movie where it just didn't belong. And it's sort of like, that's not what makes a show or a movie important or great, because you're just packing it full of issues. What makes a movie or a show great is because you're picking one or two things to talk about, and you're just doing it as authentically as possible.
I'm thinking of certain shows while you're talking. I won't air them out, but
sure.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then now I think the pendulum's swinging, maybe away from that a little bit, realizing it's sort of like maybe this isn't the platform to be doing this. Maybe Hollywood, the business of show and entertainment, can get back to just doing that, just entertaining. There's always going to be messages. There's always going to be those one or two very special shows that's just authentically saying, this is what we're running at. We are doing this on purpose to force a conversation because that's what this movie or TV show is about. But when you have a show that has nothing to do with that and you're just packing it full of that stuff, like why? It's just junk food at that point.
Yeah. I have to say, when you said this business of show, I heard Tobias Funke in my head from Arrested Development.
Oh, yeah.
Another question for you, Reid, kind of related to that. Kamala Harris and the Democrats, and this has been true at least through the Obama years and maybe before that, had like every celebrity and cool person you could think of coming out and endorsing in big ways and small ways. I mean, the Taylor Swift endorsement, I was personally thinking like, well, this is something that can move the needle, you know, getting the Swifties involved. And, you know, the other side has like, you know, Kid Rock and John Voight or whoever. And, you know, I heard a lot of commentary afterwards that if anything, the celebrities are seen almost as like elitists now, whereas I think historically it kind of been like, oh, you want to sell something, get a well-liked celebrity to put their name on the brand and make a commercial and do the thing. But now when it comes to politics, it seems like it's almost a negative, like that there was a saturation with that and it somehow translated into an elitist message. I don't know. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't understand what value a celebrity endorsement gives to a political candidate. I just don't get it.
It's a fair point.
They should have asked you, man. They should have asked you in the campaign.
Honestly, like, I mean, I'm very open about it. Like, I voted for Kamala. I supported Kamala. I raised a bunch of money for her. And you know, that was the side that I was on. If you asked me who I endorsed, I guess I would tell you sort of like, yeah, you know, but I don't like the word endorsement because like, who am I?
Yeah.
Like, please, no one out there within the sound of my voice, don't vote for anyone just because I tell you to. Like, I don't know shit about shit. I'm an actor. You know,
don't beat yourself up, Reid. You're smart.
No, I'm you know,
really, you do know what you're talking about to some extent. But can we Google like? Are there headlines like Dan from Veep says vote for Kamala? Or I'm thinking of Dave Chappelle, like, what does Ja think?
Right. Like it doesn't matter. Some celebrities will carry some weight because the public recognizes them as being, you know, exceptionally politically minded or politically active. And I understand why you may want those endorsements. Like the first person that comes to mind, and I mean just more sort of like the iconography of it, is like, you know, the classic image of like a Jane Fonda, you know, who was like a real political activist. And at one point, you would have said she's not even an actress as much as she's a political activist. And then she sort of swung back because that's what was going on for her at that time.
Until Grace and Frankie came out, and then she...
Yeah. But, you know, so like someone like that, I guess I understand. And all due respect to Taylor Swift, because we listen to a lot of TS in our house. My wife is a massive Swiftie, but has she ever spoken about politics ever before? So what difference does it make if she's, you know, again, I think that was the pitfall of politicians just looking for clicks, saying, if we can just scoop up as much blanket support, whether they know what they're supporting or not, then we'll win. It's sort of like, that's not how you do it. How you do it is by educating the electorate.
Love that.
I mean, I don't run a network or anything like that, but I've never quite understood why a politician, like, they spend, we're in the billions now on campaigns? Fucking billions?
It's quite an industry.
You know, I learned a little bit about campaigns. So like, I played a campaign manager, and I based that on a very close friend of mine who was a campaign manager for some presidential nominees. So I learned a bit about it, but and I think he would agree with me. One of the most effective things you could do as a candidate, if you really wanted to put that money in the right place, buy an hour of network television and educate and literally stick a fucking ethics or political history professor, stick a camera in their face and be like, real quick, in the next 60 minutes, we're going to break down to you how our country was formed, what the Constitution is. This is the Bill of Rights. This is how all the houses of government work, just so you understand what it is we're talking about when we talk about it. Because I think we may be of the last generation that was actually educated starting in junior high school on how this shit works and where it comes from. And
well, I'll tell you what, Cleaning Up Dirty is available for such a TV spot, because that is pretty much exactly what our podcast is. So
if anybody's interested, we would totally do it.
I promise we did not set Reid up for this.
But I mean, and thank God, you know, it's out there if you want to find that level of education information. But most people don't.
Yeah, it's an issue. Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm running for president, you don't need to hear me talk about sort of like, you know, what we're going to do. It's like, let me tell you about how we got here.
Absolutely.
And then you can decide.
I say that all the time. And most people don't. It's a combination of either the time or the inclination, or both, to dive deep into this really complicated, sometimes boring and dry kind of stuff. And a lot of them are like, oh yeah, maybe I heard about that in junior high school or high school or whatever. And then like, that's the last time they really engage. And maybe even they still vote, but you know, the way all this stuff hangs together and having at least some kind of working understanding of how it hangs together is so important for having an informed decision. But yeah, it's so complicated. And I wish there was more hour-long specials that people would be interested in that would educate.
People really just need to subscribe to Cleaning Up Dirty because, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Reid, you did not know that that's the episode that won us the gold.
Is that right? Really?
Yes.
It was how we got here.
Yeah,
WTF
it's
America.
called WTF America, How Did We Get Here?
Yeah.
And we break down the history of how we got here. And in fact, we did not follow the podcast plan at all because Sean said, well, we really need to just walk through the presidencies. And that's what he did. And then he backed me into a corner to unpack my political skepticism. And that's the episode that won it for us. So I have unwrapped my little lemon fruit Tootsie Roll.
Tootsie Roll time.
Yeah, this is Tootsie Roll time. We usually are way more into the snacks in the episodes, but we've been so captivated by both your dazzling smile and your dazzling comments. So
Yes. I've been trying to warm this one up a little bit.
There you go.
To get it a little softer for consumption because
you don't want to pull out a filling.
yeah, again, it's not so much a flavor problem as these have maybe been sitting around a little too long problem. But what's this guy? This is the orange.
The lemon is distinctly less electric than the lime, I would say.
And that's not
Do you want to
good.
join us with the Tootsie Rolls? No
Oh,
pressure.
man. Okay, I'll try one.
Give it a go. Give it a go,
What do
Reid.
you got over?
Oh, man. I'm going to go with the lemon. I'm going to
All
try
right.
the lemon. I'm going to smell it first, though.
Narrate
Smell-
it for us.
It's a real
What are
connoisseur.
It smells like a candle from like the Yankee Candle Company.
Kind of looks like one too.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that.
The texture is similar to that candle.
Right.
It is a little waxy.
It is waxy.
And the flavor, it's not bad. It is pretty mild. It's not like,
Right?
it doesn't like punch you in the face.
Well,
Yeah.
try the lime.
The lime's a little punchier.
It's almost like a vanilla. It's like lemon vanilla.
Yeah,
See, once
I
it
can get
starts
that.
to like, once your palate adjusts to it a little bit, it's kind of nice.
Maybe
Yeah.
this will be the next Yankee Candle, the political edition.
The
There you
Tootsie
go.
Roll series.
Lemon,
There you
vanilla.
We write him a letter.
I am going to take it out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, well, it'll be going for 5 minutes.
If you do any fillings, folks, watch out for these because they're
That's really funny. Do you
Pull
want
'em
to try
right
the
out.
lemon? How was the orange?
orange is fabulous. I 2 thumbs up for the orange. I'll try this. What's left of the lemon here?
Are you getting that vanilla? There's like a...
There is. I know exactly what you're saying. Reid. It is. It's like a lemon vanilla.
It is.
Boy, Yankee Candle is right. I tell you.
Yeah.
This is what that tastes like. Like not in a bad way, if that makes sense.
No shade to the Yankee Candle Company.
No,
Who
but-
made my grandmother's house smell so delicious and yummy for all those years.
Yes. Many grandmothers.
Well, maybe we will personally cause a resurgence of both the retro Tootsie Rolls and also the Yankee Candle.
You heard it here
Free
first,
promo for that here.
That would be a good candle scent. It's just like Tootsie Roll,
Yeah.
right? They could
It really
capture
would. That's
that.
what I did. The Tootsie Roll series.
Yep. One episode we did pickle roulette, and it was
Ooh.
a type of candy where they were all green flavors and they all looked identical. And like some were green apple, some were lime, and some were pickle. So maybe it could be like a Yankee Candle Tootsie Roll roulette
There you
that
go.
you don't know what flavor you're getting
Yeah.
until you start burning it.
Yeah.
I am not a pickle fan, and the pickle roulette episode was a whole emotional roller coaster because it was just,
Sean
is this going to be
struggles
good
with
or
it.
not?
Yeah.
And then I get a pickle one and be like, oh man, no.
Yeah.
Why would anyone make this?
It was so yummy. I like pickle flavor.
I do too. I like pickles. Pickles.
Most people do. I'm weird. I don't understand
Yeah.
the appeal of a pickle, but
He judges me for it. Well, I also brought some warheads, which I procured from Lakeside Farms, which is a bit of a legendary, what would you call it? A country store? It's a country store.
Yeah, country store.
/ restaurant. Yeah. I went there over Thanksgiving, but maybe we can get Sean to try a warhead. I'm throwing Sean under the bus
I don't
here.
know that it's conducive to podcast. Like I'm not going to be able to speak for a couple of minutes. with
Exactly,
these.
because I have a very long question.
Were they like the super sour?
Yes.
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 Okay, I remember those.
It does say extreme sour, right on the label there. And I was teeing Sean up for it because I have a fairly lengthy question to ask you, but it's an important one. I'm dying to,
All right, guys.
to get your thoughts here.
Bobby's queuing up the trash can just in case I need to ditch.
In case Sean needs to spit it out.
Quick aside on Warheads, these came out when I was in elementary school. And it was like the scourges. It was. I have a feeling actually that they're not as sour as they originally were, but it was like a challenge amongst the boys. It was like, yo, have you tried the blue Warhead yet? Because you're not hardcore if you haven't done a blue one yet. And like do like 3 of them at once.
I wouldn't even eat them when I was little. I was scared of them.
Kids were going to the nurse. Like the teachers were like,
it was the ghost pepper Cheeto.
It was the yes, exactly. And there was like bans instituted. It got out of control. So anyway, here we go.
Well, while I tee up this question, please interrupt me. Nope, I can't even. I have the face. Oh, yeah. I can't even start with the question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's so sour.
And I specifically gave you the black cherry because I know you like black cherry. So perhaps I just ruined black cherry for Sean.
No, this is just its own sour animal. That's not. Whew, I'm crying a little bit. If you get.
Wow, it's that sour?
It's so sour. We're getting there. I think we were getting through the worst of it.
So does this make you miss pickle roulette?
Oh, it's a tough call. They're 2 different experiences.
Well, while Sean is suffering through that, I have actually quite a serious question, so maybe I should have rethought my process here, about your movie Venom. So first of all, my brother Ben is a huge fan of Venom. He talks about it all the time.
Is that right? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
And he sent me a copy for my birthday.
Aw. Was he like a fan of the comic before the movie?
Probably not. I think he probably is a fan because you're in it.
Oh, that's cool.
And, he's, like many of us, has followed your career from My Boys because we were like, hometown hero.
Yeah.
So I watched Venom because Ben sent it to me. Candidly, I did not see it in theaters. I apologize. And to me...
I did see it in theaters.
Good for you.
Did you?
I did.
Did you read the comic?
I didn't read the comic, but I definitely saw it in theaters.
Oh, well... To me, the movie was clearly about addiction. Am I wrong about this? Was that intentional?
That's really interesting.
Because you've spoken out about mental health, overlaps with the opioid epidemic, and the opioid epidemic has touched each of our lives and actually overlaps with our work in important ways because the mining industry targeted rural communities just as the fossil fuel industry targets rural communities. So these are thoughts that I had while watching the movie Venom.
That's really interesting. I will say that wasn't discussed. That like when we were making the first Venom, that wasn't sort of like a meta message that we were going for. But I will say, because I'm a big comic book nerd and I always love that stuff. That as a theme has always been expressed throughout comic books, typically when it comes to the addiction to power. So you very often will see a character become obsessed, addicted, what have you, with the ability that they acquire or the power that they acquire or the technology they acquire or the money they acquire, whatever. And that theme goes back to, like the Greeks.
Absolutely.
Which essentially, comic books are just an extension of those hero and god sort of stories. So I think you're absolutely right to pick up on that because I think that is inherently baked into a lot of comic book and superhero stories. And the more I think about it, I can see how you could read into that for Venom specifically because, he does in a way, he becomes addicted to this power. It serves as a drug. At first, he feels like it makes him invincible and better. And then sort of like, oh my God, this is actually becoming detrimental to his health. And it's eating him, from the inside out. And it's, attacking his liver.
Exactly. Taking over his identity.
Yeah.
Taking over his identity. So yeah, that's really interesting. That was something that wasn't, necessarily intentional, but I think it fits in with the overall sort of zeitgeisty theme throughout the Marvel and DCU for sure. I love when movies do that. Even if it's unintentional and it hits someone on a certain level. I mean, that to me is perfect. Is when you discover something despite yourself. That's really effective. I think that's great.
And certainly the addiction to power is something we see a lot in politics, and including in this era where you have folks who just don't know how to say goodbye and don't know how to pass the torch.
Unfortunately so. I know. It's,
Indeed.
I mean, that's something, I think everyone kind of knows this, but it's possible to know something and also kind of have really forgotten it at the same time. That, public service was never meant to be a career. And you can go back and you look at George Washington, and he was the perfect example of it. He could have been president for the rest of his life if he had wanted to.
King Washington.
Right. But he just sort of recognized that this is not what this position is about. I'm not supposed to stay here forever. It's supposed to be messy. And at times, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, all in the interest of progressing forward. But it's supposed to be messy.
Yeah.
And it's not supposed to be one person's vision. I mean, look, there are amazing politicians who have been in the game for a very long time that I'm sort of like, thank God they're there to always be that voice, you know? So I know I'm sort of contradicting myself, but from the purist standpoint, you were supposed to be honored to serve your community, your district, your state, your country for a limited amount of time, do the most you could with what you got, and then move on.
Absolutely. That was definitely how it was intended originally. You come, serve a term or two, and then go back to your farm, and then turn it over to somebody else. And yeah, to the messiness, that was part of why Washington left too, because he was getting beat up so much by people in the Capitol. He was like, I'm out, man. Like, give it to somebody else. It's time to pass the torch.
But they're making too much money. They're making too much money.
Making too much money, right. And now too, as we see people living longer, that's another like sort of wrinkle that the founders maybe didn't really have an answer to, is like, you know, if you were 65 in the 1700s, like, you're ancient. But now that's like, people are starting their political careers at 65. And, you know, once you get these folks who are just, man, like literally aging out, and it's a problem because, again, like, to your point, Reid, some of them are still really great, but it's like kind of like, you know, how do you balance between those things? And some succeed at that, and some not so much.
And I don't have the look. I wish I had the answer, so I don't know. You know, I go back and forth. And sometimes I think, oh, you know, term limits is the answer. But then at the same time, it's like, man, everything moves so slow. Sometimes like they're just getting something really good going and then they're out.
I feel the same way.
So I don't know. It's like maybe it's a term limit, but maybe it's a long term limit, 12 years or 15 years or something like that. But something to know, so like you got to say goodbye. I think turnover can be good. You don't want to just churn and burn through it, but I think fresh ideas, new people coming in, new people cycling out, something can be done there. I don't know what it is,
absolutely,
but I feel like something could be done.
And again, that is what our country is built for.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
To force the term limits and the turnover.
And we're seeing a bit of that play out in D.C. right now, where Democrats in the House, historically, their leadership fights as far as committees, like who's going to be the ranking member, they've deferred to seniority, where it's like, well, you've been around the longest, so you get the top spot. This time around, Hakeem Jeffries is letting Democratic members go for merit.
Yep.
And say, hey, well, just because you haven't been here the longest doesn't mean you can't run for the position, which, you know, that sounds like some real inside baseball, but it's kind of like a quiet revolution happening there, saying like, no, the next 4 years are going to be a wild ride. We need the best people at the top, not just the people who've been here the longest.
Best idea wins.
You know, exactly.
Everyone can just check their ego a little bit and realize that best idea wins.
Yeah. Well, speaking of sports,
yes,
this is one of my favorite questions to ask on the podcast.
Where's Juan Soto going to go?
I haven't asked that one yet. Philadelphia's really nice, Juan. I just want to say that. It's a highly underrated city. But what's your walk-up song, Reid? If you were, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, 2 outs, you're coming up, what's getting you pumped to hit that homer?
Oh, man, to get me pumped. There's a lot of songs that would actually get me pumped. I know, like...
It's a hard choice.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about it, like B-Side by Krungbin, which,
I love that song.
And Liz will attest to this. So talk about authenticity. I'm an old hippie, right? Is it
time for some stories?
I am a crunchy granola eating, hacky sack kicking, devil stick twirling, Grateful Dead listening, fish following hippie.
Our kind of people.
From upstate New York. So yeah, what gets me pumped is a little bit different than what might get someone else pumped. So like some smooth Latin-esque world, no lyric, bass heavy jams kind of get me going.
That's a good, like a custom walk up.
I was gonna say B-side. Is it weird for me to say this? Like that's kind of a sexy song, Reid. So that's quite a walk up song.
Thank you. That's the kind of stuff that gets me pumped. It's like I like to create a vibe. I like the vibe.
I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but as you were describing the devil sticks, the hacky sacks, which of course I would see all the time in my households with my older brothers.
Your brother had the VW microbus that we fixed up, and they had a giant hole in the floor that would, if we were being pulled over by the cops, we would throw all of our paraphernalia out the hole in the floor. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say,
so
and we had to fix the hole, but then you were like, no, the hole was like part of the point. That was like, that was an asset, actually.
That's so funny.
So Ben and I met in 7th grade at public school in our town, which is a massive school. It looked more like a small college. It was so many kids. And we were in Spanish class together, learning the colors. And we got to blue. And the teacher was like, azul. And Ben, who I didn't know yet, because we had sort of like filtered into the same junior high from like a bunch of different satellite elementary schools. She's like, red, roja, white, blanco, blue, azul. And your brother just goes, who's the asshole?
And 7th grade. Oh my God.
And it was such a dumb joke, but I just thought it was so funny. I'm like, oh, he and I are going to be friends.
Be friends with this guy.
Yeah. And we got to be buddies. And then I got sent to this all boys Catholic military school, LaSalle. And Ben and I kind of like drifted for a while. And then he got sent to LaSalle my junior year, and we sort of reconnected. And I remember just being like, oh, thank God there's like someone else like me here.
Yeah.
Because we were the rabble rousers. We were all, pretty much straight A students, lacrosse team, activities, all that kind of stuff. But we were pushing back against what we viewed to be this repressive regime.
Yeah.
And, we were the hippie artists, the beatnik.
Well, if I remember correctly, Ben got sent to LaSalle and then ran for student body president and won.
It was like a fable. It was hilarious. Seriously, it was like, I should make a movie about it.
I was just going to say, it sounds like a movie.
Yeah, I've told this story before. I mean, there's so many stories from LaSalle. This really, look, it was good for me because I needed that kind of discipline, but it was a weird school to go to. But yeah, that particular story, I was the campaign manager, which was sort of like foreshadowing.
Seriously.
The universe, man. I'm telling you.
Right.
It's all connected and all the signs are there if you want to look for them. But I was the campaign manager. Your brother ran for president. And then we won in a landslide victory. And then the administration basically came to us. They're naturally like very, very strict and conservative. And they said, basically, you guys don't represent the kind of senior slate that we want here at school. So either resign your post and return in the fall or don't come back at all. And I remember all the parents talking, and only your parents, Liz, so Ben's parents, and mine were like, you guys don't have to go back. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
At least that's what my parents said to me. They were sort of like, you're getting good grades. You're doing everything right. Yeah, you're, a little fringy in your extracurricular activities and stuff like that. But we're not going to teach you to sell out. Was essentially, it was a really great lesson that my parents gave me. It was wild, honestly, like a really formative experience to have that experience and to be banded together with other people at the time that were sort of on the same mind of like, we saw things differently and we weren't going to be told to see things the way everybody else sees them just because they were in charge.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I always felt it was more Ben's story than mine. I was there and I was a part of it. But I mean, your brother came in, like, however you want to look at it, he fucked some shit up. That junior year. Most kids did not get sent to this school senior year. Usually you came in as like 7th, 8th grade, maybe 9th grade. But your brother came in very end of 10th grade, but mostly like junior year. And you could just see it. There's like the friction between Ben and the school was so palpable that everyone in the school within the first 3 weeks knew who Ben Green was. Because he was either always in trouble or he was speaking out. And honestly, and you saw so many people be like, we can do that?
He changed the game.
In a weird way. I mean, honestly, I don't want to equate Ben to Donald Trump, but
I was, if you didn't do it, Reid, I was going to do it. Because I was like,
I think people voted for our slate because it was just whatever you thought about it. It was authentic. And we were running against, there was like the captain of the football team, like the lead cadet that had like the most, medals and the highest rank and all that shit. And then there was the freaks,
The great disruptor.
The great
Came in
disruptor.
and just like everyone was buying what he was selling, man.
Legendary class clown who said the word asshole in his 7th grade Spanish class.
But you saw it. You saw this collective desire for, I don't know what it's going to mean, but it'll mean something different than that.
That's fascinating. And we certainly did not plan to make this connection, but I think it speaks to a truth about human nature, whether it's 2024 in a national election or the 90s at your high school, but like people are attracted to that.
Yeah, they are.
Especially when they feel like they're in a situation where like, this is kind of lame and or not cool and or not working for me. Then a disruptor comes along and you're like, whoa, that's wild. Maybe we should give that a go.
Yeah. Well, we'll loop back to that the next time we bring you on the podcast, because clearly you have to come back on. We ran so late.
Part 2.
Yeah.
I'm down for a part 2. Sure.
So much fun talking
Straight storytelling.
to you.
Yeah.
I do have to ask very quickly, do you watch The Bear?
Okay. I watched a little bit of The Bear. My little sister, Katie, she goes by Kat to most of it. She's a chef.
Okay.
She is the first female chef de cuisine of a 3 Michelin star restaurant in the country.
Damn, she's not just a chef.
No, she's a badass. She's a real badass.
Killing it.
Sean and I need a reservation immediately.
It's amazing. Her restaurant's in Los Angeles. It's called Yangban. Her name is Kat Hong. She's celebrated. I could not be more proud. So this is my little moment to brag about her.
Please.
But because I've had sort of a front row seat to the inner workings of the culinary industry, I found The Bear to be so close to home that it made me uncomfortable.
Wow.
I know.
Which means they're doing it right. They did a phenomenal job, but I was just sort of like, oh God, I've watched my sister go through all this. I can't watch someone else go through it.
Wow. That was a little bit of Sean's reaction.
I had a similar, I have no connection into the cooking industry, but more from like a family dysfunction perspective where I'm like, this is like every Easter I had growing up, man. Like what's the one with the 7 fishes?
7 fishes.
That one, I mean, the acting's tremendous. The writing's tremendous. Like it's such a good show.
Yeah.
But I like have to like de-stress after watching an episode because I'm like, I'm getting PTSD from, Easter 2011 or whatever.
That's what was happening to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
Well, thank you so much.
This has been so much fun.
This has been unbelievable.
Thank you guys. I've had a great time.
Yeah.
And to our listeners, thanks for listening to Cleaning Up Dirty. To help clean up dirty, follow us at Clean Air Action everywhere on social media and subscribe to Cleaning Up Dirty wherever you stream podcasts.